Welcome to this week's Off the Court. And we have a very special guest joining us today. The first time I've actually done this, but I'm interviewing England Thorns member Tommy Wiseman. We've not had one of the England men's team on the show before, so very welcome to you today.
Yes, very excited to be here. Thank you very much, T. Loving it. Thank you very much.
Well, it's early as well, Tommy, because we usually meet on a Monday night, don't we? No, not a Monday night, a Tuesday night at training for London Mavericks. And today we are very much online.
Yes, it feels weird. Normally we're like running around the court trying to impress you lot and make sure we're working hard. But today, no, all on Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. And focus fully on the England Thorns. So we saw the first game, the first test against Australia in the Aurora Series at the weekend. That was live at the Copper Box. It wasn't a victory for you guys, but it was a much improved performance.
Yes, 100%. I mean, the last time we played them, the gap and the margin was much bigger. This time it was not like that at all. We was able to get our goals in. We kind of said, we still haven't reached the goals we would like to, and we know we have a higher standard as to what we want to reach now. But compared to where we was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we know we're building and we're building on that, which is absolutely amazing.
It really seems sort of parallel to how the England's women's team went, right? Back in the day when I was playing for that team, you were losing by 40 goals, 30 goals, and suddenly it just began to get normal. The more opportunities you got against them, and you started to close that gap. And we were talking that you have to just remember it is still netball. Like, they are quality, but A, they've got a few years on you guys, and B, you can actually find the gaps and the holes against them.
Yeah, 100%. Like before I first played, this was the first time I played Australia, and you kind of build up in your head and think, oh, this is Australia, probably like you lot did. And actually, you get out there and you realize it's just netball. It's just what you practice. It's just what you've been doing for your whole life. So actually, it becomes easier. And I think the first barrier is getting over that factor and realizing, yes, it is Australia, but also it is just another game of netball. And so now we've kind of set that real good structure for that first game, ready to play our test for test two and test three at the weekend. So yeah, it was really, really good to get out there and kind of see what it feels like, but actually realize it's just netball.
Yeah, just netball, just netball. It's easier said than done at times. So you're heading into test 2 and test 3. What does this week look like then? Is it similar to the England Roses? Is it you're all in camp? Are you all prepping? Is it video analysis? You have your physios, your coaches there. What's it looking like?
Yeah, so we have really, like, this is almost self-funded, which is basically by behind the players, and we're putting a lot of money into this. But actually, what we get out of that is really, really good. We get high standard stuff. So we're in camp from Tuesday to the Friday, and in that camp we've got video analysis sessions. We've got the S&C coaches there. We've got court sessions. We've got one-to-ones. We've also got recovery sessions, Pilates, yoga. We've kind of gone all out, which is brilliant preparations for us as athletes as well. Yes, it is self-funded, but actually we are still trying to be those professional athletes. So all of those prep ready from Tuesday ready to Friday is really going to help us for the weekend on Saturday and Sunday.
I want to talk a little bit about the game then. I watched it at the weekend, and I'm going to go hands up. I watch a lot of netball, Tommy, as you know. I haven't seen a whole heap of male netball. I'm continuing to grow and learn and develop about the game. The key for me was just how aerial it is.
Yeah, it is really aerial. I mean, all of these guys can jump. We know obviously in the women's game, all of them can jump too, but the men can really, leaps and bounds just jump over. And it was really hard to first and foremost recognize that, and then really kind of play around that. So actually the aerial balls won't work, and a lot of the time when you are playing these other games, especially in this country, or when you're playing the mixed games, them aerial balls go and they look quite easy. When you're playing against these guys, it wasn't really an option. You had to work the ball to circle edge and really try and make sure you make it a safe option.
So I'm intrigued by that then, because like you say, we have a lot of male training partners across the league now. I know you guys come into London Mavericks. I know there's players at London Pulse, at Manchester Thunder. I'm sure it's happening at all the clubs. And the benefits for us is that physicality, is that leap, is that elevation, is the speed, the closing speed of stuff. What are you guys taking from that side of the game and putting into yours as well when you talk about those cut and drives to the edge and not just throwing the ball up?
Yeah, like for us, I mean, obviously it's not just about making sure that you can jump high. You want to make sure that you can play the game of netball. And first and foremost, we are netballers, and we want to make sure we are actually playing netball. So it does come up with that tactical, technical bit as well. Obviously, training with you lot as that has kind of opened my mind to actually you're not just an athlete. You're not just a guy that was playing basketball to now you play netball. You are having to think about the game. So making sure you're smart with the ball and actually looking at your options and always seeing you have two options and not just, making sure that if you've got the ball, you are not standing still, because if you're standing still, you are going to get taken out or that ball's going to be taken off you. So always continuing to run hard on it.
I want to talk about your journey into it then, because I'm always intrigued by that. Whether it's the female athletes coming into the game, but particularly with the male athletes coming into the game. You've already mentioned there that transition from basketball to netball. Is there anybody in the Thorns at the minute that purely just started at netball? Are we there yet?
Um, Kai started when he was really, really young. And that was through his mum's team, and I think that was one of his main sports. But still, I knew he started to play football. There isn't the only player that is in the England Thorns setup at the moment is I know is Aiden. He plays for London Giants, and netball. He's really young. He's great wing attack centre. And his netball has been his main sport for the majority of his life. He hasn't really done any other sports and such. So yeah, the younger generation are starting to build that up because there are more opportunities. So like for me, I wanted to play netball as soon as possible. When my sister was playing it, I would have loved to play it, but it wasn't available then. The opportunities weren't there. So it's so great to see that these opportunities are here for people to actually take part and actually get involved. So it's really, really good in that aspect.
I remember you bowling around when I used to play with your sister and played with Gemma, and you were there as a young kid, Tommy, and you were always heavily involved. That kind of transition, like you say, being around the sport, is that where you first got the passion for it?
Yeah, 100%. Like I used to always go with my sister everywhere, whether that be where she started at, like it was back in then Saracen Mavericks, and then obviously to Surrey Storm as well. Like I loved it. I loved getting involved in it, and I just loved the sport. And that's kind of where my passion first started, really. And it was really good to get involved. And actually, I saw this men's team pop up and I was like, oh wow, this is my time. This is what I've been wanting to do for ages. So it was about time that it happened. And actually, when it did happen, it just felt right. Like I'd played basketball, I'd played football, and I loved it because I love sport. Obviously, I'm a PE teacher, but nothing felt like almost home as to when I was playing netball.
So where's the shift then? What does this career pathway look like? Where do you want to see men's netball go? Because over the past few years, there's been a huge shift. There's been a huge push. I think the game is linked. It was very separate when it first came around. I don't know whether that was sort of a threatening piece from it being a predominantly female game and everyone was trying to hold on to it. And we've seen the benefits of both sports being able to grow and work together. But what happens next?
Um, I mean, the game is going in the right direction. Like we've had three of these games now being broadcasted on Sky Sports, and that is absolutely great. To be able to then watch it back and see people's like men's netball on YouTube and actually on Sky, that is the way it's going. Obviously, as a netball player myself, I would like it to progress further and see it become of a more professional sport. It is hard at the moment, when with the girls' game is growing so heavily, and that is absolutely amazing. They are setting the standard, and we obviously want to follow that. So whatever the girls are doing, we're probably going to be about 15, 20 years behind. But actually, hopefully, it will happen. Hopefully, one day there'll be that professional league, there'll be that sponsorship, there'll be that funding, and it won't be self-funded. And actually, there'll be opportunities for you to play and for you to be that your only job.
Finally, then, looking ahead to the Aurora Series, you've got two more games coming up. First one on Saturday at Nottingham, Motorpoint Arena, and then the last one back at the Copper Box on the Sunday. So a quick turnaround. What are the hopes for this group? I mean, some of the Australian players are absolute class, aren't they? But for you guys, the learnings, the tactical, is it purely about closing that gap at this point?
Yeah, so the gap is 29 at the moment, and we know ourselves we made too many errors, and that gap is closable. 29 for us, it's not a great margin, but actually it's something to build up on. So every single time we play against those guys, we are looking to close that margin because we know we can get closer than that, and we know we didn't put our best performance out there. So we want to just be able to take the positives away from the game one and really be able to close that back, set ourselves target, and actually just play the game. Don't play the occasion, and actually learn from it and be able to take the positives out from it.
Excellent. Well, listen, Tommy, it was great to see it live on the TV, to be able to watch and see how far the game's come as well. I was absolutely blown away by the standard, the level, the competitiveness, and like I said, the elevation and aerial game as well. It got my head thinking. It meant I was starting to look at some tactics to see what we could bring in. Quick one. Do you want the super shot in your game as well?
Oh, I don't know. I would actually like it, to be fair. It does add the excitement to the game. But as a coach myself, it does change the game slightly. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe in the international series we'll see it one time.
Congratulations on your selection into the Aurora Series. Good luck for the rest of the tests as well. And thank you very much for joining us. Joining us now is Eboni Usoro-Brown. And Ebs, the last time I saw you, we were at the Sports Industry Awards just a few weeks ago. We haven't even met on the netball circuit yet. And sadly, there was absolutely no netball mentioned that whole evening.
Sadly, I know you'd expect it to have been mentioned, but no, it was just great to be in amongst the Mavericks family and enjoying a bit of getting our glad rags on and enjoying some non-netball fun.
Some non-netball fun. We definitely had some netball chats at some point though, and that's why I've got you on, because we've just had round 11 of the Netball Super League and 2 teams have already qualified for the top 4. No real surprises. London Pulse and Loughborough Lightning are back there again.
Yeah, I think they've obviously 2 established teams, obviously of Super League of old. So having retained much of their old squad, I'm not surprised to see them in the top 4. And I think Loughborough Lightning in particular coming into form at the moment with the return of Sammy Wallace-Joseph. She's been so impactful and influential for that team. I'm not surprised to see them get that early, tick across that finals line.
So go on then. Do you think Loughborough's still rising? Do you think Pulse have plateaued a little bit? They haven't looked their lively selves the last couple of weeks.
I wouldn't say necessarily that they've plateaued, but I think on commentary last night I just said they keep finding a way to win.
Hang on. Do they keep finding a way to win because of Fumi?
Potentially keep finding a way to. He was again very influential last night, but I think at the end of the day they're getting the 3 points on the board, and we expect so much, or I expect so much of them as a general fan, because they've got a court full of internationals. So I think the bar is probably set higher for them because of the experience that they've got on court. So I think I was quite surprised in terms of how they performed against Loughborough in round 10. But I know in terms of how they've bounced back in round 11 against Birmingham Panthers, they rode out the storm. So again, good to see them qualify. So I wouldn't necessarily say they're plateauing, but I think there's definitely some things that they'll need to correct come finals time.
So next weekend, round 12, I think Thunder play on the Friday night. If they win that, they will automatically qualify as well. Likely to, at home against Dragons. Who's joining them? Who's taking up that final 4th spot? Did Mavs do enough by beating Forest at the weekend?
Is that a leading question, Tamsin?
No comment here. I mean, I can give you my own opinion.
You know what? I was super impressed with Mavericks' performance against Forest last week. I think we knew it was always going to be, there's so much weight on that match in terms of potentially earning that 4th position. And actually, I think I said to Camilla in the pre-match interview that Mavs have been the extra time queens, and sometimes it's the inconsistency that's been, I guess, their Achilles heel. But the performance against Forest, I thought, was absolutely superb. Rav Squashy in particular, a standout, and real leadership from the back from her. And I think they cemented as to why they could be in that final position and actually not just be there just to make up numbers, but also contend if they can find that consistency over the 4 quarters. So I think you and I have had a discussion. I know there's 2 21-year-olds in that Maverick shooting circle, and they seemingly finding their way. They're finding a way to win. So it's just how they approach and that mentality that they take into finals will then, if they get there, I know there's 3 more rounds in which to go, but as to whether they will actually be real competitors in terms of the opportunity to be in that final.
Well, one thing they will have to shift, and this comes with age and experience, and whether you can get that in the first season, is the unforced errors. So I think out of the top 5 at the minute, they've got 3 players sitting in that group, three youngsters or inexperienced players in terms of playing full seasons in those chosen positions. But defensively, you mentioned Raz Quashi. Talk a little bit about Izzy Phillips at the weekend as well, because I think there's only two non-circle players sitting in the top 10 of intercepts at the minute, her and Cassie Howard.
Yeah, I think Izzy Phillips was phenomenal, especially the 1st and 3rd quarters. I think in the way she came out, she had some real intention for Mavericks. Early turnover, I think it was the very first centre pass of the game. She came out with some great ball. And I think that really set the tone for Mavericks. I think I've been saying it's just don't underestimate in terms of that early of winning ball, the kind of tone, the message, the body language that it sends to the rest of the team. It only just encourages and inspires everyone to raise the game. So it's great to see Izzy Phillips thriving in that Mavericks environment. And I think supported with the likes of Razia Quashi behind her, they're only going to go from strength to strength. And I know this is a very much a young group, very much in their first year of this rebranding. So I'm excited about the opportunities in for years to come, should they be retained.
We mentioned your Fumis, your Raz, your Izzy Phillips. I've just name dropped Cassie Howard there. We know the England full-time programme is going to be coming out, I think, this week, I believe. Other standout players then, and one of the things I've picked up on is just how dominant the South African shooters have been. And I know you and I both had experiences in SSM. We know how much that helped the England team and the current team, the past players as well, to build and develop the Roses. Is this a little bit of a warning sign for England when you've got Van der Beer and Rolene Struiker just playing absolutely incredible netball?
We know, Tamsin, the result of us going across to SSN and the exposure and the experience we had in that environment, which really did lead to some of the success that we went later on to have. So I think the exposure of the likes of Rolene Struiker and Elmarie van der Berg in this league and Nicole Briet has been phenomenal for them, and they will be taking that back to South Africa. They're more familiar with the England Roses and the opposition that they're playing against, so all that knowledge will all buy into the international window. For me, I find it quite exciting actually, because if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best as well. So just as they've gained some knowledge on us, we've also gained some knowledge on them. But for me, standouts, I'd probably say Jazz Brown this year. I think in terms of her role at goalkeeper for Birmingham Panthers, I think she's been a real stalwart for them. One of the more consistent players, I think top of the leaderboard in terms of rebounds at the moment. And again, she's just finding her way with the partnership with Coffee. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see her in England dress at some point in time. And we've been talking, and you've talked about quite often about that goalkeeper position and who's going to replace the likes of Jiva Mentor, and England still searching for that opportunity. But I think I'd love to see Jazz Brown in there just to be able to again see what she can do in that kind of Red Roses dress. I think probably a second standout for me would be in and around probably Anya Williams. We know that Manchester Thunder had a number of injuries at the beginning of the season. Obviously, Nat Metcalf also out with a pregnancy. But I've been really impressed with the youngster and just her movement, the maturity of her performance, but also just she's so fierce on the ball, the strong takes and kind of just that no-nonsense attitude. So for me, two young players, two Roses, I think, stars in the making. And I'd love to see them in a Roses squad as and when it's announced.
I think the Super League gives a real opportunity, doesn't it, to allow those young players to step up and thrive. It's been quite intriguing, you know, your Gracie Smiths, your Shannon Malicks getting opportunities out there and holding their own as well, not only holding their own, but performing on that stage. I was talking to Tommy Wiseman a little bit earlier on the podcast, and the England men's team, the Thorns, they were playing up against the Kelpies, and one of the big things he was saying is you have to get over playing Australia. You and I both know what that's like. And that sort of mental factor of the Super League at the moment, it's really making certain players stand out. I think A, in the super shot, B, in the tactical plays as well, but also with those young players that are almost coming through with nothing to lose at all. That has definitely been a shift in sort of an English mentality over the last few years.
It definitely has, though. I think we lived through the era where we used to get beaten by Australia 30 goals, and if we got less than, I guess, in the margin of 20, that would also be a good result for us. But these youngsters are growing up in an era where the belief and confidence, there's evidence to show that how we can do it. They haven't had years of waiting to see as and when we're going to break that line. They kind of grown up in an environment where it's just expected. Whereas back in our day, not to sound like we're veterans, it wasn't expected until we actually were able to gain some experience, get the exposure that we did on that world stage time and time again, be able to kind of ride that pressure goal for goal and come out the other time and be consistent with it. So I'm not surprised to see the likes of Malik and Gracie Smith, as you say, just absolutely thriving in this environment because they've got the confidence, because they can witness it in the current time.
So a couple more questions from me then, Ebs. Top 4 may be decided by round 12, but I still feel this has been one of the closest seasons ever. Do you think the rule changes, the league, everything we said was going to happen has helped the performances on court?
Yeah, I think it's been the closest season probably going into the second half of the season. I think we still had some blowouts at the beginning of the season in terms of results. And I also just think that's relatively because teams are just trying to find their way with the super shot. And actually what the game smarts were going to be in around how to utilise the 1 point time as opposed to just the 2 point time. But I do think, as you say, as we come to the mid part of the season and we're approaching finals, the games have been closer. Teams have got wiser in terms of how they utilize those 5 minute periods at the end of each quarter. So, all in all, I think it's been positive. I think it's been just from an entertainment perspective, fan perspective, it has been quite thrilling. Come the mid part to the end of the season. From a team's perspective, I think the injury is probably a cause of concern in terms of squad sizes of 10. However, all teams have found a way in terms of replacements, and it's also been really positive to see how the next gen league has actually really thrived, underpinning the main Super League itself. So I think the main thing to remember is we're in year one. This is a 10-year plan, and actually the fact that we've all come on the journey, we've had the games in bigger arenas, we've had bums on seats, we've had more people watching across the Sky channels, I think is all really positive, and it will continue to grow and evolve, and I'm a firm believer that it can only get better from here.
So this is the big question then, Ebony. Who is going to win it? Who are the matchups? Who do we think are consistently that team that can face? Because obviously we've got the major and the minor semi-finals this time around. We haven't had that for a very long time. So what is that going to look like?
I've been really lucky enough to, I guess, commentate on a lot of the Loughborough Lightning games, and we talk about this opportunity for the three-peat. And I thought I was a little bit concerned, I guess, at the beginning of the season, the mid-season. I think I said they were really struggling with that rotating circle. But as I mentioned earlier, I think Sammy Wallace-Joseph, her impact and her influence in that circle, that focal point for Loughborough Lightning, they seem to be thriving. Having her in the team. And I think Berry Neal in herself, her game has come into its own. She looks more confident, having obviously previously been at Pulse and used to playing with the likes of Liv Sheen with that target shooter. I think it's really strengthened her game. So for me, at the moment, Loughborough Lightning are probably going to be, I'd put my money on in terms of taking away the title. But as you and I both know, finals, it's a completely different ball game. It's about how you can manage the pressure on the day, put your best foot forward, keep that connection and communication on court, and actually just, you've got to be so dogged if you want to be that champion. So Pulse, very much in the mix. They obviously had unbeaten run for 7 rounds, so I wouldn't necessarily discount them. But I think at the moment, you've got the spark from Alicia Scholes and the team, you've got the spark from Fumi Fidoju, but I just don't see it from all 7 on court. So I just love for them to be able to prove me wrong come finals time. But I think at the moment, the balance definitely with Loughborough Lightning. Thunder and potentially Mavericks, I think they'll be in the mix, but I don't know if this year in Super League 2.0 is just 1 year too early.
Well, I, for one, cannot wait. I'm really hoping the top 4 gets decided next weekend, Ebs. That's what I'm hoping for. Can I say that now? I'm definitely going to say that. It'd be nice for Mavericks, who haven't been in the finals. I know they're a new club under London Mavericks, but haven't been in it, I think, since 2016. So that'll be a massive plus for them as a young side and starting up this year in the league. But yeah, look, I'm with you on this. Loughborough Lightning are just solid. They're just consistent. We had Berry Neal on the show last week, and she is absolutely relishing the opportunity she's had with new coaches and a new team there as well. And experience, as you know, Ebbs, speaks for a lot. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us your opinions on that. We look forward to round 12 coming up. We obviously have Thunder Dragons on the Friday night. That could decide their top 4 spot if they get a win. Saturday, it is Loughborough versus Forest, and Forest need a win now to stay alive in the competition. Then Sunday, you will see Pulse versus Rhinos, and the big one, Panthers versus London Mavericks.